Excuse me, sir. Is the Earth round or flat?
Flat.
Why do you say that?
Because of the firmament.
What's the firmament?
Do you even read the Bible, bro?
What up, what up? You are now listening to Once Upon 785, the dopest podcast in the Midwest. I'm your host, Georgie350. Let's get into it, bitch. What up, and welcome to another episode of Once Upon 785. Today's date is February 18th, 2025. As always, I'm your host, Georgie350. And this is episode 29, and I got my homie RJ on the show. And we do some reminiscing of the old days, and we end up with talking about where we are now. But, as always, before we start the show, let's do some quick plugs. I'm going to start first by plugging my TikTok, at Georgie350. Come hang out with me when I go live, check out all my videos, and make sure you check out my showcase so you can buy some dope-ass shit off the TikTok shop. Also, I'm on Cameo now, at Georgie350, so go check me out for any personalized videos you want. And, you already know, I have 3 places you can go and get some dope clothing. First is habits365.com, and use promo code Georgie350 to get 15% off your order. Next, you can go to reaperapparelco.com and use promo code Georgie350 and get 10% off your order. And last but not least, you can go to cocoburry.com for your premium sweatsuits, all different colors, and use promo code Georgie350 to get 30% off your order. I would just like to note, I'm repping Habits 365 tonight, so shout out to them. Also, check out the Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock app in the App Store, but make sure you use my referral link or use code Georgie so they know who sent you. If you would like to watch the video version of the podcast instead of just listening, I do have 2 options. First, for $5 a month, you can go to patreon.com/onceupon785. You'll get the episodes before everyone else. You won't have to listen to any of this. And, go support me on Patreon. Or, if you use Spotify, you can sign up for my premium subscription plan straight through Spotify for just $2.99 to get the video version. But, another spoiler alert, this video is also going to be free on Spotify and Patreon. I don't know, maybe I'll just do free videos for a while. I haven't decided yet. Also, questions, comments, or if you want to come on the show like my homie RJ, you can email me at onceupon785@proton.me. That's M as in Mary, E as in everybody. Lastly, if you want to support me and you enjoy the show, do me a favor and leave a rating or a review, or just share the show with someone who you think might find it interesting. I do appreciate it greatly, because any way you can support me helps me get closer to being able to hopefully do this full time. And with that being said, let's get into today's episode. What up, what up? And we are back again, and I am joined by my boy, Rep Job RJ Brett. So if you would, good sir, tell us a little bit about yourself and whatever else you find interesting.
What up? I am Brett, otherwise known as RJ, which I was given that nickname, or I came up with that nickname myself. I don't know if you remember that, but I moved down to, you guys might have heard from when JC was on, that they would talk about Rub Job or RJ, and that's me. I don't know if you remember, but I got that name. I got that nickname because I came down there to stay with my brother, and I would come over to I won't use their names, but Cube and uh the guy that ran off with the money in their upstairs apartment, you remember?
Oh yeah.
That they trashed right before they left. But I used to come over there, and y'all didn't like me, so I was trying to fit in, and everybody else had nicknames. So I was like, you know what? You call my brother Rambo, so Rambo Jr., RJ. And so I came back in, and y'all are playing beer pong. I was like, hey, my new name is RJ. And from that day on, I was RJ.
And I actually got permission to use Recheck's name in the podcast because he listened to the episodes with JC and he was like, you guys can just call me Recheck. And I was like,
Oh,
all
okay,
right,
okay.
I'll remember
All right.
that. And Cuban's already a nickname, so
Yeah, right, yeah.
as long as we don't
Yeah.
drop any government names.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, I didn't party up there too much with y'all because that was towards the end of them living in that apartment that I started coming around. And then you were living with a couple people in that apartment above the what did you
Bodega.
call it? The bodega? Yeah, the bodega. And they were getting ready to move out, so you're looking for roommates, and I was like, oh, I need a place to stay, and so you moved me in.
Yeah, Rambo was actually getting evicted too because
Yeah,
JC had just went to jail and he didn't have no money.
yeah, but I don't know if you remember, but originally it was me that you talked to about moving in there, and then once Rambo found out that I was moving in there, he was like, "Oh, I want to move in too," and so he came and brought his leather couch. Remember getting that leather couch in there?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
I,
gosh, that was a mess.
I tell people stories of that place and I don't think they understand how crazy they actually were. Like people wonder why I call myself Georgie 350 and I gotta say, 350, that was the password to get into our house. We had
Yeah.
no windows, so we couldn't see who was knocking at the door. So
Yep.
people would
Knock, knock,
knock.
knock, knock. What time is it? Tree fitty.
Always 350. Sometimes we did hear Hayes Police Department, and that wasn't
Yeah.
always the best time.
Yeah. That was bad. That was the start of all the trouble I got into back in the day because I
That
got in trouble for that. I got in trouble for that, and then I've had unpaid fines. And so when I was out at the Wilson Lake, and we may have stole some beer or something like that, and then the cops came, and I lied about my name
so
because
did
I thought I
I.
had a warrant. I thought I had a warrant out of Hayes for those unpaid fines, but I was so drunk that I gave him the name, but I gave him the wrong birthday, and they're like, "No, that's not right. Try again." And so I said another one. They're like, "Nope, you're going to jail."
I should have just had you run with me because that day was crazy. And those weren't cops; those were game wardens. Game wardens don't fuck around.
Yeah, yeah. The one that I actually found out later that the one guy, he is a cop because when I was doing my time in the Russell County Jail, I'd see him in there quite often. But good times, yeah.
Yeah, the Wilson Lake, that shit was crazy as fuck.
One of the worst, one of the worst days of my life. I went down there because of some girl who wanted me to go, and then like right after we got there, she just ditched out and went and did her own thing. So I was just trying to, you know, get drunk and forget and just act like I didn't care. And
Here, 1 second. So, one thing about the lake, do you remember how um, Kevin and his old lady had their car just packed full of fucking lawn chairs?
who?
Kevin, and his girl Rhiannon.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Game warden came and he said he was freaking out because their car, he had that little car and it was just packed all the way full with stolen lawn chairs and shit.
I didn't even know that, I don't think. I was too busy getting arrested, so.
That's true. I watched you get arrested. I was hiding in
And
the trees.
that sucked.
I had those bright yellow swim trunks and I took them bitches off because I didn't want to get seen. And some dude picked me up and he was like, dude, you look burnt as fuck. Do you need a ride? And I was like, yeah, but my phone was back in Cuban's car and I had no way to get a hold of anybody. And I was like, I'm fucked. I'm going to get stuck out here.
That was awful.
But Cuban and number 2 came and picked me up.
Man, that's the first time I'd ever been to jail, and I was in there, and I was just stupid about it all. Like, I should have tried to. I didn't want to call anybody to bail me out, and so I just tried to go with it. Where I should have just got a hold of my family would have came and did it if I just got a hold of them, but I didn't, and so I got fucked by the judge because I'd never been really in trouble before, and so they just pretty much railroaded me, and I didn't even realize they were doing it. But all these years later, I look back now and I'm like, man, they fucked me over all that. Like, that's
Isn't that where you got the weekends?
yeah. So
You want to
I
talk about what happened on your last weekend?
yeah. So I got out of jail that time, and they had pretty much said I'd be on probation. But when I got out of jail, I just didn't report or anything. Am I lagging
No.
out on your side? Oh, I'm on my side, so I didn't know if I was on your side or not. But I got out and I just kind of just didn't report or anything. And so I had a warrant out for my arrest, and eventually they came, I was trying to think which one this was. So yeah, I don't know how much in the way of names I can use.
You can always just put like a first letter or something.
Yes. So the girl with big ol' boobs that you dated at one time.
Oh
There was
yeah.
an S. Okay,
Yeah.
so I was in Hayes for New Year's, and me and her were at this party, and we were about to walk to this other party. And I was walking down the street, and this cop was like, "Hey, you look like somebody we're looking for." And me being dumb, I didn't just keep walking. I stopped and let him talk to me because I wasn't the guy they were looking for. But when they ran my name, it came back that I had a warrant out for my arrest out of Russell, and so they arrested me. But I just happened to have a little bit of marijuana in my pocket, so I also got hit with possession of marijuana out of Hayes also. But then uh I went to Russell, and I went for the judge, and he ended up giving me like 10 days, and I had a job at the time, so he let me do weekends, and he gave me 5 weekends, 10 days, so just 2. So I'd never really been to jail before, and so I didn't I didn't realize how good I had it with just doing 10 days, right? Doing weekends. I didn't realize how cake that really was. It was a nightmare for me at the time. I couldn't sleep at night. I was just so anxious all the time, and it was just horrible. So the second, third, and fourth weekend I went in there, I may or may not have put Tylenol PM in a cellophane and would intertwine it between my toes and with my sock on, because it's a little podunk jail, so they didn't really search you that much. And so the second, third, and fourth weekend, I did that, and I got away with it. And then I'd go in there, pop those before I went to bed at night, and I'd sleep, right? I would be good. Well, the fifth weekend that I went in there, I did the same thing, same routine. And then when they were dressing me out, they stopped right before they all of a sudden, right before they were about to send me back, they were dressing me out, and I was pretty much undressed, and I was about to put my clothes on. And they're like, "All right, so now your socks." I was like, "Oh no!" And I tried to keep them intertwined in my toes, and so I took my sock off, and it did okay at first, but then like it slipped from between my toes, and the cellophane just went boop, just just popped straight up, and the guard was like, "What is that? What is that?" And so I got a felony for trying to bring Tylenol PM into jail with me.
Oh man, you'd have been better off trying to sneak some real drugs in there because they would have hit you with the same thing.
I know. And I actually had talked after I'd done all that. I ended up getting this lawyer for this other thing, and I was talking to him about that, and he was like, "And what they do with you?" I said, "Well, I ended up getting 4 months in jail plus a felony on top of that." And he's like, "Oh, that is ridiculous. You should have came and got me as your attorney. You shouldn't have." But all I had was a court-appointed attorney who now, all this time later, I found out just doesn't try for their clients at all. So I got I got fucked because I didn't know any better, honestly.
Yeah, and I've learned that there's a bunch of times where I got a lawyer that I shouldn't even have gotten a lawyer because I could have did just as good of a job as a lawyer did. And especially if they're court appointed, they totally have an allegiance to the judge. They don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah, so what it comes down to is you go into a small county like that, especially, so the judge, the DA, and probably that court-appointed attorney that you have probably all go out for drinks after the workday's over. They all kick it. They're all super close. So pretty much whatever the judge or DA wants to do, the attorney's going to do it too, because the attorney doesn't want to do anything for you because he's just court-appointed. So he doesn't get the money he would get from actually getting hired or anything like that. So yeah, I got F, but oh well. You live, you learn, I guess, huh?
Yeah. And then how long did you make it before you got in trouble the next time?
Uh-huh. So, all right. So I ended up going to, I did multiple stints because I had a 11-month underline there in Russell, and I ended up doing like, I had a probation violation. I went back and did a month, and then I did another one, and I had to do another 2 months, and all the way till my 11th month was taken care of. So once my 11 months was taken care of, I got out and I went up into Logan and was staying with my sister. And I'd literally probably been there 2 weeks, and I had got I had, they said 2 grams is what I had of weed, but I actually don't even think it was that. I think they weighed it with the bag because I was just a very little shake at the bottom of the bag is all I had. And so I ended up going to see this girl at the liquor store, and I was going to go to her house to hang out afterwards. And as I was leaving, a cop got on me and pulled me over. And once again, I didn't know my rights. So I just let him search me, and I tried to be honest and was like, "Well, I have this little bit here, and he's like, "Well, all right, well, we might not do anything about that." And then next thing I know, he arrested me. So, and
Yeah.
that was, a felony also, because with my, with my one out of Hayes, that qualified for a felony.
That was back when it was 2 marijuana charges gets you a felony.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and I actually ended up going to prison over that. My fault because I fucked up my corrections, but I ended up going to prison over that. So I literally went to prison for the shake at the bottom of a weed bag. Like that's great.
Yeah, anytime the police say, be honest and we'll do whatever, they're lying.
Nah, I know. Yeah.
I've learned to
So
always lie to the police.
yeah. No. So should we take them back to our let's go back to our Hayes days.
We can go back to the Hayes days.
So I was gonna talk about when I first moved into that apartment above the bodega. And I don't know if you remember this, but when I first moved into that apartment, you guys were kind of mean to me. And so I had that buddy, who actually passed away now, but, Kyle, who stayed in that party house down on the corner by Chuck's. I don't know if you remember the house I'm talking about, the big, like,
The one right
2-3 store.
beside, it's like Chuck's, and then now it's on the rocks, and then that big house
No, so it would have been on the corner. So there's that
on the
big
very
house right
end.
next. Yeah, yeah. So there's been one right next to Chuck's, or on the rocks or off the rocks, whatever it is now. And then there was also one that was. Then there was one that was next to that on the corner that was a big old house. And I had a old buddy I went to school with that lived there, and you guys were mean to me. And so one night we were drinking, and y'all were being dicks of being dicks to me. And so I went over there and I was told, like, I told what's going on. He was like, well, you got a spot here. You can come stay here if you want. And I was like, well, maybe. And so then I came back to the apartment and told you all, well, I think I'm probably going to be moving out and moving in. So, and then you were like, RJ, come here. And so we went into your room. You shut the door and locked it. And we sit down and had a really dope heart to heart, talking, just talked it out. And I mean, and we've been super cool ever since, for the most part.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I was blacked out because I totally don't remember a lot that happened at that house. I remember that time that big titty blonde chick that was dating John put her ass through the window.
And you and him missed so many good stories, but I don't know to what extent we want to talk about some of these stories.
They're all past the statute of limitations.
Well, so I mean, some of these aren't even all that bad. It's just I don't know if somebody was to listen to them if they would be like, oh man, that's. But I guess so I don't use any names. It wouldn't be too big a deal. Like, I can't believe you guys didn't discuss the Valtrak story.
we talked about it, but I think we decided against that one.
And that is such a good story though. I always thought if I was ever going to do like a stand-up comedy routine or something like that, that would 100% be one of the stories that I would have to tell, because that is the best. One of the funniest
That
things
was
that's
a
ever
good one.
happened.
Did we talk about when that girl I was dating made me that cake?
Yeah.
We did talk about that?
Yes, you guys talked about that. So is she the one that did you pee on her?
No. I peed
No,
on
yeah.
I peed on the girl that was named after a country.
Yeah. So she's the only one you ever peed on? I thought there was another one.
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
The only one lucky enough to get this golden stream.
Yeah, that's funny. And that's funny because JC's right. It was literally a routine. When you got blackout drunk, we knew what was going to happen. Like that was just a foregone conclusion. Do you remember though? I want to say you were there, that I had seen that same girl at the home one night, and I had talked to her, and I was like, "Hey, why don't you come back to my apartment?" And I didn't realize that everyone was going to be there when I got there, and so I told her to meet me there. And I get back to the apartment, and JC, my brother, Cuban, just the whole crew was sitting around there, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And so I kind of told you all, I was like, "Guys, I need you all to
I
be
remember
scarce.
this.
I need you to be scarce, right?" And then JC's like, JC's giving me shit. My brother's giving me shit. Everybody's giving me so much shit. And I said, JC, you're going to ruin my chances of getting laid. And
I'm
everybody with
pretty
that
sure
one,
you said ruin your chances of getting pussy.
I don't know, one or the other, but everyone had been like laughing up to that point, and all of a sudden everyone was just dead quiet. And I was like, huh? And I turned around, and that girl was standing right in the doorway. And I looked at her, I turned around, looked back at y'all, and everyone just busted out laughing. Like Cuban like fell to his knees. He was laughing so hard. And yeah, she turned around and like she slammed the door and ran out of there. It's all bad.
I do remember that. That was a good. That was a good time. That shit was funny as fuck.
Yeah, yeah. That was just kind of our thing though, man. We all had such a bad habit of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. So
I
I
mean,
so edit this out if you want to, but do you remember that other time where our downstairs neighbor had the black friend that
oh
was
yeah,
coming around for a bit, and and at the beginning me and you thought she was just super bad. I don't know, but she took a liking to me, and they had came up and we were in your room like smoking or something, and they ended up leaving, and I laid back on the bed and I was like, I want to fuck you because you're black, and we all laughed and stuff, and then like 2 seconds later they come back in the door and she's like, "What'd you say?" I was like, "Oh shit!" Like,
didn't you end up hitting it? And you said
yeah,
that it was bad because she smelled so
yeah,
bad.
we did, and that's funny because I had actually, so right after that she got interested in me, all of a sudden it hit me that maybe she wasn't that, I wasn't that into her. And so, but there's one night she had came back to the downstairs neighbors. I was standing out on the back roof, and I seen her show up, and I was like, "Hey, you should come up here." And so she did. One thing led to another, and it happened. And so the next morning, I was sleeping, and I like rolled over and put like my arm over her, and I smelled, and it like woke me up right in that woke me up right there, and I, as quiet as I could, because you had already left for work that morning, and so as quiet as I could, I slid out of my bed. I went into your room. I locked the door, and I laid in your bed and went back to sleep. And when I woke back up, she was gone.
You remember the night? Were you there when we were partying with the downstairs neighbors and me and Cuban may have did a little took like I went first and then he went next
Yeah, I do
and
remember that. Yeah.
he was banging on the door. He's like, Georgie, let me in. I was like, Cuban, wait your fucking turn.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was even worse than mine.
Yeah. Oh God, don't even. I tell people that story, and I'm when they ask like what she looked like, I'm like, you know what Gary Coleman looks like? Looked like
Yeah,
Gary Coleman.
that's all bad. Or what about my adventure with the virgin?
I forgot all about her.
Yeah, so the downstairs neighbors had a friend that would come over there who had the boyfriend that raced the motocross.
Yeah, didn't
We
we
were going to,
say he was a douchebag?
yeah, he kind of was, but neither here nor there. So she actually had her 18-year-old, 18 sister, come up and like party with her one night, and she liked me for whatever reason or whatever, and I didn't know that she was a virgin at the time, and so everything was going good. We got over to I don't know, what do you call Jay?
Oh, Jacoby.
Jacoby. Went over to that house that Jacoby had moved into with those couple of guys, and we were making out and stuff, and I decided, I was going to take her into the room, and I took her into the room, and I laid her on the bed and stuff, and I take her pants off, and I like stick a finger in the finger or whatever, and as I did that, she's like, "Did you just put it in?" And I was like, "No," and she went, "Ah!" And she started crying. She jumped out of the bed, took off running, threw open the door, ran into the bathroom, shut it, and locked it. And I was just like, "Oh my God, what the fuck just happened here?" I was kind of worried for my own well-being in that moment. What did I just do? But turned out that she was just embarrassed that she had thought that was my thing, whatever. So she told her sister and the boyfriend that I was nothing but a gentleman, but she was just embarrassed. So.
And so you didn't get to hit it?
I didn't hit it, no. That actually scarred me too. So she tried to hit me up many times after that, and I did not go for it. I said nope. I was like, that just scarred me, left a bad taste in my mouth.
Not to backtrack to the Valtrex, but that time when we were watching Entourage and we were asking Rambo, would you put zesty sauce on this? And JC, was it JC or you?
No, so let me I remember. So it was actually, we weren't watching Entourage. It was JC was playing PlayStation, and so how when JC plays video games, since he can't see very good, he has to sit extra close to the TV so he can see. And so we're just going to tell the story. I don't even care. So we were over at
before you do 1 second again.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, so I'm going to tell you. So we're going to go with the story. It's too good of a story not to tell, right? So if you remember, we had the buddy who had the girlfriend, and they've been together for a while or whatever. And one day, for
most of high school.
Time. And so I remember we were over there for a party one night, and see, I can talk about this. So I know me and you for sure. I can't remember who was all down there at the time, but I know me and you were both down there for sure. And we were down there smoking, and he was going through his girl's purse, right? And he was joking around. He'd pull out some birth control and be like, "You guys want to get fucked up on some birth control?" And we were all, ha 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 ha, yeah, ha ha ha. "Oh, you guys want to get fucked up on some ibuprofen?" We're like, ha 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 ha, yeah, ha ha ha. And as he was like, "You guys want to get fucked up on some Valtrex?" And we went from doing the ha ha to all of a sudden just, what? And so we didn't really say much in that moment, but once we were away from him, where I can't remember who it was, but somebody was like, "What is Valtrex?" And somebody was like, "Isn't that isn't that herpes medication?" And we're like, "What?"
I remember Cha Cha.
That's how we found out. Yeah.
I text Cha Cha and asked him what Valtrex was.
We thought so. Somebody thought that's what it was, but we weren't really sure. And so you Cha Cha'd it, and it came back that that's what it was. And us being the shitty friends that we were, instead of just taking him and telling him, we made it such a big deal out of just, "You're telling him. Oh, you're telling him. No, fuck that. I ain't telling him. You're telling him. No, fuck that." So being the good friends we were, we just didn't say anything at all. We just made a little inside joke between us, right? That, when they weren't around, especially, we'd always make Valtrex jokes, right? Well, I remember then that the one day they were over there and we were all smoking. We had the couch against that wall. We had the leather couch against that wall, and there's usually chairs there right in the doorway, and then it all faced that TV that was again in that corner against that wall. And JC was up there playing PlayStation, and so he was sitting really close to it and stuff. And so I can't remember exactly how it got onto it, but my brother really liked the zesty sauce from he liked the tacos and the zesty sauce from Burger King that he would get from there quite often. And so he's like, man, I get that. I could put anything on it. And so we were all like, would you put thumb on it and eat it still? We're like, yeah. And then everyone was laughing, having a good time. And then out of nowhere, JC sitting up there close to the TV was like, would you put Valtrex on it? Oh man, the dead awkward silence that it just, the whole room just went dead, right? We were just like, oh shit. Though I'm not even sure they would have picked up on it had we just kept on going, but it was so awkward that you ended up getting up and going into the other room. I got up and went outside like I was going to smoke a cigarette outside just because it was just such an awkward moment. And so, all right, so let's just backtrack for a real quick second. So if you remember the night before the well-endowed blonde that you guys were talking about in that thing, JC had broken up with her and we had been drinking Jaeger. And so she was just unconsolably sobbing and crying and just ridiculous that whole night before. Just, do you remember that? How she was just uncontrollable, screaming and crying, and JC had done that and then left, and so left us with her, and so we were just around her, just being crazy, just ridiculously upset about it to the point where it was ridiculous. But so fast forward now. So right after JC said that about the Valtrex, they pretty quick afterwards were like, all right, well, I think we're gonna go. And so they got up, and as soon as they walked out that door, we all just busted up laughing, just rolling laughing, just and then while we were doing that, all of a sudden dude comes walking back in the house, turns, and he slams the door, and we're like, oh shit, like what's about to happen here? And he said, JC, if you ever leave Holly like with that or with us like that again, I'll beat your ass. Oh, I said Holly. I didn't mean to say her name. Whoops. At it. But we were all like, oh shit. Whew. But man, that was, I don't know if it's a had to be there moment or what, but that was arguably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. That it was just,
well, I don't think you have to worry about him watching the podcast because I guarantee that won't happen.
The dude in that story.
Yeah. I know the well-endowed blonde listens because she said she likes the name that me and JC gave her.
Well, hi. If you're listening right now.
Hell yeah.
Well,
so what else we got?
Trying to think, man. We had just had times after times. Oh, for all you loyal Georgia 350 listeners out there, I don't know if you know what his favorite activity to do in the mornings is. He likes to snuggle his roommates. Every single morning for probably the entire time we lived there, he would come crawling into bed and we would snuggle, like not anything even weird. It wasn't weird. It was just normal. It was just what it was. It just,
I also like to open that window and piss outside.
of the room that turned into my room. Oh, your room.
No, the other room, the big room.
And then, my brother's dog liked to wasn't very well potty trained, and I had I don't know if you remember this, but I had another one whose initials were pretty close to a clan of people who don't like other races. You know who I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember I had her over one day, and I had her in my room with the door locked, and I was on the bed making out with her and stuff, and she was supposed to leave or something like that, and so you were like, "RJ, she's got to go. RJ, she's got to go," and all of a sudden you start kicking my door, bam, 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 until the point where the door fucking broke, and so then it wouldn't close all the way, and so then my brother's dog would come into my room and come on the floor all the time. And at that time, my brother didn't really he slept real late. And so the dog had to go where the dog had to go. So I had a carpet in my room. So he liked to go in there and do it in there.
It was literally the only room in the house that had carpet.
I just kind of wondered why he liked to do it in there so much, but that's probably why, is because I had the carpet.
You do realize that after we moved out of that house, nobody has ever lived there again. They totally just closed down that apartment.
When we left it, it wasn't in that bad shape no more. I mean, we did our damage. Oh my gosh. What about the time? What about the time when you got super drunk and you passed out on the couch? And so me and Cuban and the Valtrax girl all started drawing on your face. You know how we did that, and you woke up and realized what we were doing, and you were pissed. And so we took off running, and we ran into the bathroom, and you literally came and just bam, and there was like this flimsy little door anyways, and you just tore it, like ripped the door in half and kicked in the door. And so we had to put a curtain on the bathroom, and that's what we had on the bathroom door from then on, was just a curtain.
Yeah, that girl, I remember she looked at me and she was just like, "Jordan, what the fuck?" And our shower was so fucked up, that bitch would never fucking drain. And since we had that curtain up, we would always go in there and throw water on whoever would get a shower.
I hate that. And then the stealing each other's phones and making Facebook posts. Do you know that because of that has got me into trouble in relationships going forward, because I still don't trust leaving my phone alone? I'm not even doing anything wrong with it, right? Like especially my last relationship, I was completely loyal, had nothing to hide and stuff. But whenever I would like leave the room or something, I still felt the need where I needed to take my phone with me, not because there was anything going on, just because because of those times, I just felt like I had to protect my phone so she didn't like hop on and make a Facebook status about me liking boys or something like that. So, but no one, I don't know, just
even though it would be true.
It's just
scarf. I remember. Do you not remember when I got mad at Cuban and I was like, he still messages me on Facebook. He was like, "You text everyone on my phone from A to K."
What?
He stole my Cuban stole my phone and he literally texted everyone in my phone from A to K and just said a bunch of random crazy shit.
Man, that dude is love the dude. I do. Like I no, I gotta I always I've talked to him since. He's probably it's been quite a long time since I have, but he was such a odd dude where he would just be there and then he wouldn't, and we wouldn't see him for, a whole 3 days, and then I wake up one morning and he'd be sleeping in the bed next to me just out of nowhere, and just he was all over the place.
Yeah, this one time I remember he would just show up in bed all the time. And I woke up one time and I rolled over and I called him the girl's name that I was dating. And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Fucking Cuban? What the fuck?"
It I always try to tell people about these old stories from back in that day and stuff, but it's hard to really illustrate just how wild it was, because we had our tree fitty crew. Like that was kind of what we were. We had Crybaby and uh you remember Crybaby, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do
I
you?
still talk to
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. I,
I don't talk to number two and Yo
yeah. But
Josh.
they weren't even originally part of the crew. Number two never really was. Uh Yo Josh
No.
was dating whatever her name was. I can't even remember what her name is anymore. But those two used to come over quite a bit, and so kind of a funny story with that. Do you remember that? So JC told you another story about how after all the stuff happened with Recheck, we he saw them. We went over to that party at number two's house, and things got a little crazy, and we ended up taking them with us. And what's fucked up about it is I actually started out on JC and Big Mike's side, and it ended up being that I was part of it. So, like, they ended up turning and making it like I was part of the being whatever also. But I remember Yo Josh was one of the ones involved in that too, and he was in the back seat bawling, dude, just crying and just oh no, please don't hurt me, I don't know, which he was never gonna get hurt. I mean, that was never, I don't know what to say about that. But I remember he was over at later on when he was with what's her name. They came over to the apartment and we were talking about that, and I was like, "Yeah, you cried," and he got so mad. He's like, "I did not cry. No, I didn't." Like, to the point where he was pissed. Like, he was like, I don't know if I'd ever seen him that mad before, but the fact that I told him, said that he had cried in that moment, or cried in that, he was he was so mad. Just, I did not cry. I wouldn't cry over that. That's some bullshit. Nah, you don't fucking say that, RJ. I didn't fucking do that.
He acts like he's hard, but he's such a bitch. I hate him
I
so
never
much.
really much cared for him either, but
He totally robbed me too. And then tried to say because he didn't snitch on me to the police, he was obligated to take it from me.
well, I think that's it.
He's even tried to hit me up since then, and I tell him like, "Yo, why do you think I would like you? Fuck you."
He's a douche for sure. He's always been, but
And then he always tries to be like, "Why don't you just fight me?" And it's like, "I'm not gonna fight you, fag. Like, fuck you."
I think so. Then trying to think what so I mean we could sit here and go on and on. I mean, we have so many stories from that time that there's no way we can even go over every single story that we have. But then, we I moved away and I ended up in Norton and I started dating Bad News Bears. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I forget about that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see
she's
that.
married now.
Oh darn. I missed out on one there, didn't I? But yeah,
Yep.
but me and her used to drive down to uh where were you at the time? Hoxie? You're living with Schmitty.
Maybe. Oh yeah, that was Hoxie.
Yeah, so we come down there and visit you and whatnot. And
I don't even remember that.
what?
You came to
Those
Hoxie?
times. It
Yeah, I
it
don't.
was
I totally don't
all
remember that. Was I dating a girl ever?
no, but uh I remember the one time I came down, you had I'm just gonna say the names. You can cut it if you want. Uh, Heaven, Heaven,
Oh
and
yeah.
her friend Lisa. Yeah, they were.
Yep.
Uh, so I know I'm getting sidetracked here, but I actually after me and girl from that story broke up when I was in Hayes, um, I actually had I don't remember if it was on Facebook or what, but I got a hold of that Lisa chick and we were talking back and forth and stuff. And she was like, and so we set it up so when she was about to be in Hayes, she was going to come stay the night with me, right? And she did. And that girl had the worst breath I have ever smelled in my life, dude. Like to the point where I originally had planned on, and I kissed on her for a second, and I was like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" And so I was just like, "All right," and so I like rolled over to my other side and went to sleep because oh gosh, that was so bad. But we were pretty bad off in some addictions when I was coming down to Hoxie to visit, and that's a big thing why we come down. It was for the pills and whatnot.
Was it for the PKs? That makes sense. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. And so we
Now it's all coming
we
back.
had a good connection for some shitty green, and we would come and trade you and yada yada and whatnot. But that was awful. That's the worst thing I ever had to get off of in my life, man. That stuff is.
I think I do remember that now because yeah, that shit was trash.
Yeah, it was it was coming from Cali. It was I don't know why it was the way it was, but I made a little bit of a living off that for a while.
So when you came down to Hoxie, you met D Brown, right?
Hmm? Do
Do you not remember the night the safe got stolen and there was all those Hoxie guys passed out in Brett's
No,
room?
so I don't think I was there that night. I wasn't much around for the Tamarack Circle days. I was either in jail or I'd moved to Hutch, so I wasn't really around too much. But is he the one that is passed now? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yep.
no, I might have met him in Hoxie, but I also do you remember my basement apartment in Hayes? Yeah, so that's where I knew him from more so, is that he would come down there and kick it quite often.
Yeah, he was the one. He dated that one girl for a long time.
Who's that? Oh, did he?
Heaven.
I didn't even know.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't know, I guess, but yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, those were crazy days. No, but when I was living in Hoxie, I was dating this one girl, and did you ever come down when Big D lived on the hammock?
Yes, I did. And actually, now that you're
She was
saying
at
that, I do remember you dating the girl at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, she had blonde hair and big ol' titties.
Yeah, I don't remember her very well, but I do think I remember you dating somebody at that time. I don't know. It's been.
That was who, when I got out of rehab, that's who I moved
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wichita to live
Okay.
with.
Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah, I do. You remember I was in Norton at that same time. You were in
Yep.
rehab.
Didn't you hook me up with your cousin that worked
And
at Subway, and she hooked us up?
We need to talk about that, by the way, but we'll do that another time. No, Jordan. No. No.
What? Oh, ha, don't
No.
worry. I
That's a
already,
mistake.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. She actually
Yeah, that,
was going to come down. She had like a job interview down here in Hutch or something. She's like, "Oh, I really want to see you," and I was like, "Okay." I said, "I didn't even." She's my cousin, so I should have, but it's a tough it's tough to be around sometimes.
that's crazy. So you're telling me no because you heard about it?
So I mean, edit this out if you want, because I
That's
mean,
scary.
I'm just talking to talk right now. But she had messaged me and was like, "Hey, cuz, how you doing?" And so I had talked to her a long time. So I was like, "Oh, I'm doing all right. How are you doing?" And then we talked for a minute, and then she was like, "I was thinking about moving to Texas, but since me and Jordan started talking, I don't know if I will anymore." I said, Jordan who?" And she said, the Jordan that you know, or I can't remember if she said it, but to you, about you. And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, I, yeah, yeah. She told me. I don't.
Yeah, you see, I was going through all these when I'm swiping on the old swiping sites, I just, you know, I just go through and I hit it. And sometimes I totally swipe accidents and I get this message and she was like, "Jordan, what's up?" And I was like, "Who the fuck is this?" And then I started looking and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I,"
I was.
and I entertained it for a little bit. And then it was like, she was wanting to come to my house and I was like, no, like, I don't want you to come to my
He's
house.
arguably the most annoying person I've ever met in my life. So.
Well, I know she don't listen to podcasts, so I think we're
Might
good.
listen to yours. I mean, you convinced her not to go to Texas, so.
I don't even know how. Dude, you know what's crazy? I have there was this girl that I matched on Tinder way back when I first started my podcast, and she was like, "Oh, I love your podcast. I listen to every episode." And if she would have really listened to every episode, she would have realized that I hate chicks that are really good at taking face pictures and then hiding the fact that they're fucking humongous fat bitches
Yeah.
underneath. And so I have 2 episodes, Meow Wolf Part 1 And then Meow Wolf Part 2, I should have brought a fishing pole because she
Oh
fucking
yeah.
catfished me. And dude, it was the craziest trip ever. Like, I drove all the way to her fucking house and she came around the corner and I was like, God damn it, you gotta be fucking kidding
Yeah.
me.
I had a similar experience. So back when the MSN Messenger was a big thing, I met.
What, in
I mean,
2000?
this was even a little past that because I was old enough to where I could drive, but I don't know. So this girl had added me on Messenger, and I was talking to her, and she sent me some pictures to where she looked pretty good, right? And I was living in Phillipsburg at the time, and she lived in Holdridge, Nebraska. And so she was like, "Oh, you should come up and see me, sometime." I was like, "Oh, I could probably do that." And so I hit one of my buddies up, and I was like, "Hey, man, would you want to give me a ride to Holdridge and see this girl?" And he's like, "Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I can do that. I can do that." And so we made the trip all the way to Holdridge. And him being the good friend that he was, I was just kind of like, all right, I'm going to go up here. You do your thing. I'll have you come get me here in a little bit. And like, I got to the door, and all of a sudden, big old girls answered the door. I was like, oh no, what did I do? And so my buddy from the car actually seen that it had happened, seen it too. And so him being just I didn't give him enough credit for this, but when I think back to it, I should have gave him more. But he was gone for like, he left because I was a nice guy, so I was just like, all right, no, I'm gonna come in and I guess I'll hang out for a minute. And like 10 minutes after I was there, he called me and he was like, hey, so my parents want me back, so we gotta go, man. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, fine, that's fine. And so he came back and got me, and that's why I was only there for like 10 minutes. And then I got in the car, and I was like, so what'd your parents want? He's like, oh, they didn't call. I was just calling to get you out of there. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, appreciate that. And so, but it's the worst, man. Like,
Yeah, that's why you gotta be. If they don't got a full body shot, then you shouldn't even swipe.
yeah, but we don't discriminate just because we the big girls. There's nothing wrong with a big girl. It's just
Hey, I know some bigger chicks that are bad as fuck, and it's because of
for
the way
sure,
they
for
carry
sure.
themselves and they post a full body pic. If you're a fat chick trying to hide it, I don't got time
Own
for
that
that. But if
shit.
you're a fat
Own
chick
that shit.
that's
Yeah.
got some swagger, yeah, I ain't got no problem with it. But I just don't like being lied to. Nothing's worse than thinking you're going to be meeting a baddie and then you're meeting a fatty. JC's the one that told me about SIFs,
Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, so
secret internet
I don't know
fatties.
if that was him I was talking to about it or not, but I had that same back in like 2009. I had that same thought to where I was like, man, if she only posts from here up, probably don't go. But if she, because I had that same kind of thought.
I mean, it's pretty true though.
Yep. And then let's see, I went to Hayes, back to Hayes, and that's when I got out there on the other stuff, the go go,
That
the go go,
Midwestern
the
twang.
go go gadget. I don't know. Do you remember all? So it's not a cool thing to do, but do you remember all the cool pipes you used to have? Yeah. So
Yeah.
like you had ones that had like the twirl on it and stuff like that. Like they weren't just your typical gas station ones. These ones were actually they had some quality to them. Yeah, yeah. But
Handmade.
I've been over there before with you before, like where you would have got it. me and you had went down there numerous times, and we actually went when he also pierced Valtrek's girl's nose.
Oh,
Remember
yep.
that?
Do you remember when I had that like pinstriping and I would pin like pinstripe tape on there and shit?
Do what?
I had like red and black, and then I had like flame tape that you would
Mm,
like pinstripe
hmm
cars with that
hmm
I was putting on those.
Yeah, I do. Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
I
way
wish I
out
would
there.
have got a hold on that a lot sooner than I did, man. Like I was going on that for years after that, man, for all the way up until uh so December 26th of 2020 I ended up getting sober, but up until that point, and I was just going the whole time. So
Yeah, and some people may not know it, but I'm completely sober from everything, even Mary Jane.
you're off everything now?
I just take kratom.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's not I don't know. Like I do live the life I live now, but I don't I don't know what I necessarily want out of life. Like I've had some second guesses to being where I don't know if I want to be completely sober for the rest of my life. I don't want to go back to all of that, but if I'm like in Colorado or something, I don't know why it would hurt for me to not to smoke get a little green, smoke a little something something, or to I don't know, like if I go to like a wedding or something like that, why I can't have a couple drinks or something like that. But I also know that neither alcohol nor marijuana are my drugs of choices. And I've known from previous times that if I go and, drink now, that I don't even like to be drunk. And so I want to sober up I want to kind of just sober myself up. And what's the best way to sober yourself up? Doing some of the shit. So I just, it's kind of got to be
Yep.
careful with all of it. But
And see, I have no problem with marijuana. I mean, I'm a complete pro marijuana. I just know at this point in my life, it's not in my best interest. And I mean, alcohol, the only problem I have with alcohol is getting blackout drunk, and I don't do that no more. So, but I don't even like to drink.
so, so I, a little bit more. So now, so I struggled with my addiction for a lot of years, and then I got sober. And now that I'm sober, I actually got a job working at the Hutch prison out here, and I work as a SAP facilitator, which is a substance abuse facilitator, which means I teach a class on substance abuse, right? And so what I tell my guys and what I have to tell myself too is the only problem with marijuana is it's illegal, right? That's the big thing about it.
Yep.
And so if all you're trying to do is just smoke, that is opening the door to illegal activity. And once you open that door to illegal activity, it's like a gate, right? So it's a gate, and you start doing all that. You do smokes a little bit of weed, that gate opens a little bit, and then all of a sudden, it tends. So, and I try to talk to the guys too, because I'll ask them, I say, so what's your drug of choice? And a lot of them will start off by trying to tell me it's marijuana. And I'm like, but what's your drug of choice? Because, I would try to say my drug of choice was marijuana for the longest time, but it wasn't. the go stuff was my drug of choice, and that's what I'd always go to. And so I have to remind myself, because if I was just smoke a little bit or something like that, that's not going to be the high that I want. I'll in the moment be like, okay, I'm getting high or something, but that's just going to remind me of being high, and then not the high that I want. So that way, I would probably go back.
Yep. I mean, that's why I like kratom, because opiates were my hands down drug of choice, but that doesn't mean I didn't have a minor in getting spun and shit like that, because I like to party.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
Absolutely. And that's not a big thing out there, man. The drugs in the prisons is insane nowadays. Like, I don't know so I know how much is that hutch, and it's actually second on the list for Kansas prisons that have the most drug activity in them. Lansing is actually the one that has the most, but it's K2 and it's the meth. Those are the two big things that everybody is doing out there. And I'm almost to the point where every once in a while it doesn't happen very often because it's not in there very much, but I smell somebody so there's the rotunda, which is a big old like octagon shaped thing, and off of each there's 4 entrance ways off the rotunda, and each one is the cell houses. There's A, there's B, there's C, and there's D, and then there's upstairs there's A2, B2, C2, and D2, and you walk right through the middle of all that when you're going in, and every single time you go walk through there, it smells like burnt paper, right? Which that's them trying to smoke the K2. So that's them smoking the K2. That's when you smell the burnt paper, that's what you're smelling, is the K2. And then there's once in a while where I walk through and I'll smell some weed, and I'll actually be semi like, all right, good for you guys. Like, yeah, like, so I actually kind of wish the guards would just let them smoke weed. Like, if they, if that's all they're doing, then let them go, because that K2 is so bad, man. It's to the point, it's so strong that guys will hit it and they have episodes where they fall out. And I mean, depending on where they're at when they fall out, I know of guys that fall and whack their heads on the bunks and stuff like that and do serious damage to themselves, and so it's, and the most fucked up thing about it all, what addiction does to you is these guys. So a guy down the run will smoke something, he'll have an episode, fall out, hit his head, do some real damage to himself, and the guy down the run is all of a sudden like, man, I want to do some of that shit, like what it just did to this dude was nearly kill him.
Yeah.
And this dude still wants to do that same stuff because, man, that guy got fucked up off that, so it's wild, man. It's
That's the same thing with people fucking, now they're looking for the shit that's got the fentanyl in it.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if you remember, you may not have never met him, but Recheck's cousin, Drizzle, he's in Colby jail. He's been there for fucking months and months, dude. And he's got like no eyebrows and shit. Like,
he's the one that used to live just right behind our old the bodega apartment, right? In Hayes?
No.
Who am I thinking of? It was
I
a
have
recheck?
no idea. I don't know. I don't think he ever lived behind us.
I don't think it was why we lived there though. I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't.
I know he I know he lived in a little bitty house on like 16th Street back in the
Did he live
day
in?
with
Did he
this
live in
guy
Hayes?
Buddy at one point.
Did he have kids?
Uh I know who you're talking about,
Oh,
but I don't know who the fuck
oh.
that was.
Start with a D.
Oh,
Yeah, I
you talking
just
about
remember.
Act?
Huh? No, 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 no. Now
You
edit
talking
it
about
out.
Act?
Drew. That's who you're
Yeah, that's
talking
what I'm
about.
talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
He doesn't have
He
kids.
doesn't have kids.
Maybe he was seen with a girl
Uh-uh.
that had kids at the time or something. I don't know. But yeah, he used to live just not too far from us because we used to walk over there. Not very often, but we did a couple times.
Where'd we walk from?
I originally said it wasn't from those apartments, but it very well might have been from those apartments. I don't know. But he was down there on like the college part of town.
Hmm. I don't know. Most of those days are a fucking blur, man.
Had some good times.
Do you remember the house where Recheck lived upstairs? Do you remember fast forward the motherfucker that lived in the basement?
Mm, maybe.
You came over there with
Oh yeah,
Chance.
yeah. I actually do remember that. Yeah, now that you say that, there was a like a little apartment underneath it that I I kind of remember like going into the kitchen of it, but I don't know. It's a little it's hazy for sure, but I kind of remember.
Yeah, we got a picture. It's like me, you, the dude that lived there, his girlfriend, and Cole. We were all sitting on the couch.
What? No, 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 no. No. The one where I'm like falling asleep on your shoulder. Yeah, no, 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 no.
Yeah,
That was in the basement at or maybe this is the same spot. Maybe we're talking about the same thing. The dude with glasses and dark hair. Yeah, is that what you're talking
yeah,
about?
yeah,
Okay, that was
yeah,
you went down those like stone stairs or the concrete stairs. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yep.
I used to party over there quite often actually.
Yeah, that was at the basement of the house that Recheck
Huh.
lived on the
I
top.
probably knew that at the time, but I don't. I can't right now. I don't remember that, but I probably knew that. I don't know. I don't know why I wouldn't have, but yeah, I
Yes,
do. I
sir.
we yeah, those are.
Hella blacked out during a lot of those days.
I've never I've never actually blacked out before.
Dude, I've blacked out so many times, it's not even funny.
But you remember so I mean this should have went way early into it, but how so my nickname was RJ for it was originally for Rambo Jr., but now
Yep.
I'm known as Rub Job because I had this girl that I thought I had gotten prego and she was a nightmare and I would always tell you guys what a nightmare she was being and I don't know who came up with it but it was for should have got a RJ was short for should have got a rub job.
Yep. How'd you find out it wasn't your baby?
Well, after it came out, she ended up actually right before the baby was born. She had told me that she didn't think it was, because I was actually going to college in Colby at the time, and so I guess the whole thing wasn't lining up. And she's like, "It's not even yours." So I thought she was just being a bitch. I was just like, "Look, it's probably mine, whatever." And so then once the baby came out, I did what I needed to do and got the test, and was not mine.
Wasn't she
Not too much
older?
older, like maybe a year or two older than me. Not extremely older, but I remember your little pregnancy scare that you had. EK.
I'm trying to remember who.
EK.
Oh shit, I forgot about her. Dude, she literally ran
Yeah,
through every
yeah,
friend
we're
I
Eskimo
had.
bros.
And then um yeah, dude, she's married to
Uh-huh,
one of
I
my
know.
homies from Quinter. I forgot about her. That was such a good story. She said, "Whatever you do, don't come inside me." And then all of a sudden she's like, "Did you just come?" I was like, "No." Fuck yeah.
That's funny.
I had to go get plan B and that shit still didn't work. And then the thing that did it was fucking cocaine and a car
So
wreck.
I remember when you found out she wasn't pregnant no more. We were Joinson and Schmitty were living in those apartments right off the interstate where you could look in that sign, look across the interstate at that sign and see your reflection over there. And we were standing outside there when you got the news, and you were hopped up on that chair and were like, "Fuck yeah, hell yeah!" Like you were so happy that it didn't end up happening.
Well, see, I was working at Montana Mike's and Smitty was the manager and Joinson also worked there. And we were sitting at the bar and she called me and she was like, "I lost the baby." And I was like, "What? Hang on a second." I put it on speakerphone and she was like, "I lost the baby." And then I put it on mute and we were all just high fiving and shit. And I was so fucking
Yeah,
happy.
that's that's I
Yeah, that shit, I
yeah, I
forgot all
actually look
about
back
that.
at some of those times and think how lucky I was that I didn't end up having a child before my daughter. Yeah.
Dude,
I
yeah.
mean, I was not ever in a good place. So had I become a father back then, I would have probably been a hell a deadbeat dad, man. I probably wouldn't have been there for my child at all. But now I at least have, now I'm a dope ass dad. So, you know what I tell people? So the best part of me having a child now is, so before I would see, these I live like, pretty close to Wichita, and I'd see these cool little like concerts come up in Wichita, right? And before, if I wanted to go to those, I would go. If I wanted to go and no one wanted to go with me, I could go by myself, but then I'd be the weird dude there all by himself, right? Who wants to be that guy, right? Now I take my daughter with me, and I'm suddenly the cool dad who's taking his daughter to the concert, right? So, that's go from a weirdo by himself to a dope dad doing cool shit with his daughter.
Hell yeah. That's what I try to do. The episode I did with that, um, my newest episode that I did with that girl, um, my son's like hella infatuated with skinwalkers. And during the episode, she told me how this guy came into her shop and he had like actual marks on his chest from getting attacked by a skinwalker. And I was like, damn, I can't wait to tell my son this shit. He's going to lose his fucking mind.
Oh, yeah. Look at us. Just went from a couple crazy kids to dads, huh?
And I don't know if you listen to any of my newer episodes at the very beginning, I actually have my son and I interview him and I say, excuse me, sir, is the earth round or flat? And he says, flat. And I say, why do you say that? And he says, because of the firmament. And I'm like, what's the firmament? And he's like, do you even read the Bible, bro? And I have other episodes where he does my intro, like, what up, what up? You are now listening to Once Upon a 785, the dopest podcast in the Midwest. And then I actually, after he did that, my oldest daughter wanted to do it. And now I'm trying to get my youngest daughter to do it, but she said she's too scared. And I'm like, why are you scared? You make TikTok videos with me that get like 3,000 views. I was like, you can do it. When my son did it, he was like 4 and he couldn't read. He did it all just off of memory from hearing my podcast so much. He just knew how it went.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
And I know we could do 3 people because we tried doing an episode with me, my son, and my oldest daughter. So there was 3 of us in
definitely.
there.
So for the next one we do, we should 100% get at least JC back in here and have all 3 of us, because I'm sure that would jog some of our memories of some different. It's just, do you remember number 2's sister hooking up with number 1 and right
Shit,
right
yeah.
she had like pee all over her couch, and then like right afterwards he ended up, I think, in the chair, didn't he?
I have no idea. I just remember she had those crazy eyes.
Oh man.
Do you remember the night that you and Rambo got arrested in the apartment? That morning, I woke up at the first number 1's house, and you remember that girl he had, his roommate Jade?
Yeah, kinda. Uh-huh.
I woke up in her bed, I guess, and I had just pissed everywhere, and I had no fucking clue what happened. And he was like, he told me that, like, we were partying with the Mexicans downstairs, and the police came up, and I just vaguely remember them being like, do any of you live upstairs? And I was like, no, those guys are a bunch of fags. And I guess I pissed on the Mexicans' floor because they were like, hey, is your friend okay? And Chase was like, oh God, he's pissed. He just put me in his car and took me to his house and threw me in her bed, and I missed work that day. And then we went back to the apartment, and the house was just trashed. There was nobody there. The door was unlocked, and the police took everything, but they forgot one bong.
Yeah, I know. They took I guess they didn't even end up charging us with it, but they got like we were saving those stems and the seeds inside that bottle, and they got all of that. And
they didn't even find any paraphernalia in your room. They found one little bitty keychain pipe on the coffee table that was like covered with beer cans and cigarettes and shit. And then they opened up the door to my room, and it was just like 37 counts of paraphernalia.
Did you ever get in trouble for that? Oh, did you?
Oh, fuck yeah. Remember, they came, we were in the room, and we were in my bedroom, and we were sniffing stuff, and Rambo had went to go get more beer, and number 1 had went to go across the street and get some more bud. And he called me and he was like, "Hey man, probably nothing to worry about, but there's a bunch of cops outside." And Rambo came back up and was knocking on the door, and
Yeah.
we were like, "What time is it?" And he was like, and then the cops were like, "Are you Jordan Schneider?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You're under arrest." And I was like, "Fuck." And I was like, "Rambo, come get
Yeah.
me."
I kind of remember that. It's a little fuzzy, but yeah, I do kind of remember that.
Yeah, that was when I went to jail, and there was some big black dude that was in the holding cell with me, and he was like, it was like in the intake
Uh-huh.
part where they take your names and shit, and he was like, "You want to see my stab wounds?" And I was like, "Fuck no." And then he kept telling the cops to make sure they bunk him with me, and I was like, "No, I'm getting out of here, bro. Like, fuck this."
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's when the black girl downstairs came and bailed me out.
Yeah, well, you owed her one, so.
Oh no, I think that's why I ended
Yeah.
up owing her one.
What about you sound like you're from North Carolina.
You sound like
I
you're
don't
from
know.
London. Who
She
was that
was
chick?
somebody we hung out with's cousin. I can't remember.
Was it Stacy?
Think so. I think it was somebody who hung out up there, like Josh or somebody like that's cousin. Because I remember she came up there and me and you were absolutely in love. Like she had that accent that we thought was just the sexiest thing we've ever heard in our lives. We were just like, oh my gosh, like just going crazy for it.
She was
Huh?
bad. She was bad. I mean, I can't really
I
remember,
think I
but I'm pretty
remember
sure
more
she
so
was
it was
bad.
her accent over everything else, though. I don't necessarily think she was just like super, super sexy or anything like that. I just think it was more of the accent that went with it. Because who even knew that somebody from North Carolina had an accent like that? But damn, that was hot. What?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we were so drunk a lot of the times that a lot of
Yeah.
chicks were pretty
The
bad.
prime example of that black chick. Oh my gosh. We just thought she was the baddest thing in the world, man. But no, she really wasn't. She wasn't.
Nope.
No.
Good times.
For sure. Well,
But shit, we're almost at the hour 30.
yes,
That's
sir.
usually where I cut it off. And I
Yeah, I
do
do
gotta
too.
work in the morning. What time do you work?
No, no later than 7 or no later than 8, but I don't know. It fluctuates. Sometimes I can go in for any time from 6 until 8, but I can really decide for myself when I want to. I have 2 classes tomorrow, so yeah. It's a pain, man. So the one last thing I want to talk about right before we go here. So, working out at the prison has really given me a different insight on things with that. So, it used to be before had I heard somebody was, somebody committed a murder and were doing the rest of their life in prison, I would just kind of be like, well, yeah, of course they are or whatever. But now that I'm in there and I work with some of these guys, it's kind of like, you know, maybe they do deserve, maybe there are some that absolutely deserve to be there and need to be there. Don't get me wrong. But there are also the ones that, you know, might deserve another chance. Like, I, they, so like, I know one guy that I work with he's been in there for like 40 years or something like that. So he committed a murder when he was like 17 years old. And then he got into prison there and he was like a shot caller for a gang and stuff like that and was doing big things or doing things like that. And then he eventually decided that he wanted to live his life differently. And so he turned his life over to God and decided to, you know, and so now he's a mentor where, he's completely sober, doesn't do anything illegal in there, just, is an upstanding guy. And, you think about that. And if I look at the guy I was at 17 compared to even who I am now, there is such a vast difference, right? Where I'm completely, I got some of my same qualities there, stuff, but I am so much different than I was so this dude is probably 50 years old now, something like that. And I mean, he, there's a couple of them like that. They honestly deserve another chance in society. Something that they did when they were 17 years old should not dictate the rest of their lives. They should look closer at that stuff. Yep. There are some who still, been in there for all those years and stuff like that, who still do the same thing, right? They don't change. They keep on keeping on. But that's what we need to have more. We need to look more into those cases, so they can look at those guys and be like, well, no, they don't. But then there are the guys that, are actually like, this other dude, he's a mentor. He works with all sorts of people, and, he does so much good. He actually him and another guy started a class that they teach out there that, they want to take to the streets too. And to have this guy who, he's a big old black dude with long ass dreads and, a scary dude. Like first time I seen him, I was like, oh shit, like, this is kind of scary, but he's not. He's like the nicest guy in the world. And to have somebody like that be able to, so if he does what he does and is never released from prison, what reason is there for the next guy that comes in that's about to do a life sentence to ever do anything different? If there's no hope for him ever to get out, why would he do anything different? But if you actually rehabilitate yourself and live life differently and, do stuff differently, then and then you have a chance of maybe eventually getting out after, so long or whatever. Doesn't that send a better message to the next guy coming in than just saying, oh, no, you're fucked, you're never getting out of here. It doesn't matter if you're a saint, or it doesn't matter if you go around stabbing and murdering everybody, you're doing the same amount of time. So, I mean, just thought.
Yeah, the prison system is totally fucked up. They need to get that shit fixed, because it's about keeping bodies in there, not rehabilitating people and getting them back out into society.
Some of it is too, the society just looks at them now, how society looks at him is, oh, this guy's a murderer. Of course he deserves to be in prison for the rest of his life. But if you actually got to know the guy, you would see that I actually don't know many people on the streets that are as good of a dude as good of a person as this guy is. Like, he is literally one of the best people I have ever met in my life. He's just a stand-up dude who will bend his back just to help anybody out. And just, he helps guys that are struggling with addiction try to overcome their addiction. And he works with so after I go home at the night, that's what I do. But after I go home at the night, my work for the day is over. He continues to do it all through the night, through weekends, 24/7. He is doing these things, and he does it with a smile, and he does it willingly. He has a life sentence, so he doesn't expect to ever get out or anything like that. He's doing that from the kindness of his own heart. And I mean, I feel like that should be rewarded rather than saying that he needs to spend the rest of his life. He could get out on the streets and do big things, talk to kids, let them know, hey, this is who I was. I was a shot caller. I was a gang member. I was a hardcore gang member. I, was in the prisons calling shots, I was running things around there. That's not the way to be. I actually have him come when I start new classes there. I actually have him come to my classes and give speeches before the class, with the first couple of days of class, just so my guys can kind of get the idea of like, oh man, like this is how another way I could live is. And I just think he should deserve another chance. I think there's many of them that do, on the same note, there's many of them that don't. There's some of them that I hear talk and I'm like, oh, it's such a good thing you're locked up. Like you deserve to be here. Like this is where you belong. But there's also ones like him. So
yeah, that shit's crazy.
I know some of the guys in there. They came from Hayes. Yeah.
Oh no,
like,
shit.
The old cocaine guy. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
I know a few of them. There's a handful of guys from Hayes. I don't know all of them, but I know. All right, dude. Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
We'll talk about it more another time.
Oh yeah. Fuck yeah,
Yes,
sir. Thank you for coming on.
Next time we gotta do this 3-way with get JC in here. Have a threesome.
Oh yeah. I'm down for 3 ways. Yeah. Hell yeah,
bro.
All right. And that concludes episode 29 with my homie RJ. I want to thank him for coming on the podcast. And if you enjoyed the episode as much as I did, and you don't mind, go ahead and leave a rating or a review on whatever platform you're listening on, because that helps me out a lot. But just know, you don't have to do either of those things. I just want you to enjoy the show. Again, check out the affiliates and use promo code Georgie350 for some dope-ass clothing. Don't forget, $5 a month, you can watch the video before anyone else on patreon.com/onceupon785 or Spotify for $2.99 to get the video version. My email is onceupon785@proton.me. You can now find me on Cameo. Also, catch me on TikTok every week or every day. And, as always, I'm your host, Georgie350. Let's hit him with the outro. Bitch! Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Middle of the map, can't swear I'm at. You can say I'm whack, it's just not a fact. Can tell if I'm awake or I'm in a dream. I just know I'm geeked on amphetamines. Never was a habit, now I gotta have it. Never was a fiend, now I am an addict. Or was a habit, now I gotta have it. Never was a fiend.